Okay, so hello to all audience of Meltzone Radio Show. We are in Nantes, France, at the Little Atlantique Brewery, and we have the huge pleasure to welcome a band coming from Canada, Anvil, and we have the huge pleasure to be with Lips. Hello, Lips. How are you?
I'm okay. What can be expected?
Okay. So first of all, how did you find the place where you're going to play this evening?
It's a brewery.
Yeah.
Probably the third or fourth time we've played a brewery in our recent years, actually.
Yeah.
We have them in Canada, too.
Okay, cool. So let's dig into the new record, which is called Impact, is imminent and released in May of this year. Can you tell us what are the origins?
What are the origins?
Yeah.
The lockdown.
Okay.
That's about the only origin. We finished writing and recording the Legal at Last album and ended up going directly back into the studio to write more material because the tour that we had started ended really quick. We did 17 shows and went home, and luckily we got home. We almost got stuck in the UK a couple of years ago, so that's the origins.
Okay. So Martin Pfeiffer and Jorge Uken produced the record. What impact did they have on the overall sound and direction of this album?
Probably nothing.
Okay.
I mean, generally, I pre-recorded and planned everything that went on before we went in. Some things, actually, in my opinion, could have been better because I don't think they followed my directions close enough. And that's how I honestly feel. Whether anybody else notices it, they think it's the best record we've done in years, and they're right on that level, but there are still things that I think could have been better, in my personal humble opinion.
Okay. When you say could be better, can you explain a little bit?
Harmony vocals.
Okay.
They buried harmony vocals that could have and should have been better.
Okay. So I read, you will tell me if it's exact, you mentioned that you feel that Impact is imminent, is Anvil's most cohesive records, with 18 and outstanding albums out prior to this. What makes these records, Anvil, one of the best you've done?
I don't know. I don't answer those questions.
Okay.
That's not for me to answer.
Okay.
And I never know, and you never know what is and what isn't better. What is better? What is the criteria for better? You can't ask me. I don't know.
Okay, I understand. It's subjective. Very
to me, I put as much effort and time and everything into every record I do. Some come out better than others.
Okay.
As simple as that.
Okay.
And some of it has to do with production. Some of it has to do with lack of production or pre-production on my part. And probably the more pre-production I do, the better the records seem to come out.
Okay. I understand. Thank you for being honest. Let's talk about now the documentary Anvil, the story on Anvil, who was re-released and feature remastered picture and sound, as well as a new exclusive epilogue interview. Who's got the idea and why now?
To be really honest with you, it has nothing to do with the band, and you're asking a question of the subject of the documentary, which is not the creator or the publisher or the director. So how do I answer why they put it out again? Because there must be a reason. There must be people who want to see it. So it makes sense that they put it out again. Otherwise, I don't think they would. There must be a new audience. There must be a reason for them to do it. I personally, it's really a never-ending story. The Anvil story is a never-ending story so long as I'm alive. And that's the bottom line. The actual movie lives because we live.
Okay.
It's about a living, breathing situation, and that's why it continues. And so what has happened is, of course, with the band continuing and everything, we create our own interest, so to speak. So if people go, hey, these guys had a movie about them, and they go, oh, what was the movie? I never saw it. And then it's like, okay, well, maybe we should put it out again, and it turns into that.
Okay, but they ask your agreement for that or not at all?
No, we have nothing to do with it. No.
Okay. Okay. So, how would you describe personally your progression as a songwriter today compared to the 80s? I suppose you learned a lot of things.
Yeah, I would say I've learned a lot of things, and one thing I've learned more than anything else is about self recognition. I think that I lacked my own belief in myself and didn't realize that really I shaped and formed everything all along, and I didn't really need the help, and that help generally was more of a hindrance than actually helping. And that's what I'm kind of discovered more in the later years, that I probably could have done a better job in earlier records had I taken the bull by the horns and been a tyrant and overstepped everybody who was trying to get their 2 cents in. Because what generally happens, I have a vision, I have an idea, and I have the whole song in my mind. And when if I come into rehearsal, and if it's not completely settled with me, it ends up going off topic and off target, because I've allowed other people into the equation that they're not going to know what's going to happen or how to really do it. It's a much more pure place that I'm coming from now. I sit down, write all the music. I create all the guitar parts before I go in. Then I present it to the other 2 guys, and they write their accompaniment to it. That seems to be the best format. I don't have to have a discussion with the singer, because I am the singer.
Yeah, that's cool. So we're going to talk about the beginning of the band, the formation. Can you tell us how and when did you meet Rob, and what are the reasons that explain such a friendship and a longevity?
Well, we're going to start talking about how I met Rob. That's funny, because before I even came up here, we were laughing because I knew somebody was going to ask me, how did you meet Rob? Which is a 50-year-old question. I try to figure out how that's relevant to the moment, but okay, well, we can go into it. I met him from a mutual friend that I went to, that was in my biology class in grade 11 or 12. And Rob lived in the neighborhood that I had recently moved into, and the other kid was in my class, and he told me about a drummer that lived around the corner that I'd walk to school every day and hear him playing drums, and oh, that guy. And we met very, very quickly. We came to realize that we both basically on the same page as far as what we were listening to and what was inspiring and influencing us. So at the very first jam, we just started writing immediately. That was the format of the jam. It wasn't like we were playing, Johnny Be Good or something. We started playing riffs that I had come up with, because I had hundreds of riffs that I'd come up with, because quite frankly, the way that I learned how to play was by writing, not by copying. Okay. Which is a different approach than most people do. But to me, it was a waste of time to sit and figure out what somebody else did, because it's already been done. So my whole thing is, what can I come up with? And I've found that the less that I know, the better it was, the more advantage, because I didn't know how to play the other guy's song. I was actually forced to come up with parts myself for my own song. So when meeting Rob, all I did was I just started playing some of the ideas that, of course, I'd been working on for the years previous to meeting him. And it was like, wow, this guy completely understands what I'm doing. And the other guitar player who invited us to the jam is standing there scratching his head going, what the hell are you guys playing? Yeah. He had no idea, and of course, and even Rob didn't even have any idea what we were playing. But all he knew was this sounds great and it's cool. So after we finished the jam, basically we're walking down the street, and I just said, well, I think we should put a band together, and and my idea of what the kind of band, let's put a band together that never sells out, that stays heavy from day one and never gives up on that track. That you don't want to become a bubblegum band or a radio band. That we become what we love, like the hardcore stuff. And what hardcore was in those days, Jimi Hendrix was hardcore. Yeah. You didn't hear it on the radio. You know what I'm saying? So to us, it was like, let's become like that, or like the Cream, or like Black Sabbath. Actually, more than anything else. And some of the first renditions of bands that we put together were, like, as an example, we called our first band Gravestone. Mm-hmm. And then at one point we called it God, spelled Gawd, okay. Which is, like something that's very, very over ornate. Mm. Okay. Something that's gaudy. So anyway.
But we can recognize that Anvil never followed the trends.
Yeah, no. It was never about radio play. It was never about being posers. It was always about high integrity, as heavy as possible music. Yeah. And that's what it was really about. And we didn't want to become one of the bands that puts out a couple heavy albums and then goes soft and tries to get on radio. That was not our idea. We wanted to stay true to what we started and continue to do.
Okay. Looking back at your childhood, in which musical environment did you grow up?
I grew up in a fairly good environment, in the sense that very musical. The stereo was always running. My mother always had the radios going, and as far as a house with musical influence, it definitely was. But when it came to actually becoming a musician, it was the exact opposite. Particularly my mother frowned upon it and took it very badly, and to the point where, I can't say that it was a negativity against making the choice for doing it as a living. It was always, from my mother's perspective, it's a hobby. Don't make it a serious thing. It's a hobby. And to me, I didn't think there was anything further from the truth. And what that actually fed was the desire 10 times more than, hey, don't do that. And I'm going to do that, and I'm going to prove you wrong. And I basically spent my entire teenage life and most of my adult life proving it wrong. Okay. And even at the end of the day, when I did prove it wrong, that it was very difficult for my mother to actually accept what had happened. I have an older brother and a younger brother. My older brother was a research scientist that basically and fundamentally discovered all the genomes and everything for diabetes. Could have cured diabetes, but the American government shut the research lab down that he was working at. And of course, that was a huge disappointment to him, never mind to my mother, who took it really bad, because to her son, the genius doctor, was what it was all about. Yeah. And when, of course, the movie began to make its way around and I became basically world famous, it really bothered my mother that the son that was the doctor scientist, it goes unnamed, and the son who she considered a bum has got all the fame. So it was a difficult pill for her to swallow. But at the same time, for me, at the end of the day, after all's been said and done, it's all done. None of it mattered. That what it really mattered was what mattered to me personally. What did I go out to and go after in my life, and what did I get out of it, and what is it going to give me in my life? What it did for my mother, what it did for my brother, what it did for anybody else is not really relevant. It's really for me. It's you make your own life for yourself, and that's what I finally learned after all that and trying to prove this wrong, trying to make this or that. At the end of the day, it was all really, I proved it to myself, and that's more important than anything else.
Yeah, that's right. I understand. Okay, so to conclude this little interview, did you have something to add to? Some words for your French fans, because we are in France, and you are doing a massive European tour. So the word of the end.
Oh well, I would just say that life is about and success is about doing what you love and getting away with it.
Yeah.
Ultimately,
without compromise.
Without compromise, you got to do what you want, and with love and passion. And fill your desires, and that's what life is really about, to find your happiness, and whatever that might be, that's what you got to do.
Cool. And we understand you with my friend Stefan, because we're doing this radio show for 23 years now. We're not paid for that. We are volunteers, so we are passionate people like you are for the band. So we can understand.
Yeah, well, it's about it, and it's what makes you want to get up in the morning to continue to do it the next day. Exactly. You got to find those things, man, and even if you're not making money, you can always do things that make money. But the things that don't make money, that fill your heart with happiness, that's what it's really about, because those are the most valuable things in life, is your happiness. If you can find that, man, you're a wealthy man.
So we are wealthy men. Thank you. This was Lips from Anvil at Nantes, France, at the Little Atlantique Brewery. Wish you a good show, of course. Wish you a lot of good things for you, for your friends, for your family, and still believing in what you believe. Thank you, Lips.
Okay, man, no problem.